Get out already, you worthless wife, LOL. Yo, just leave and never come back. While I was carrying the last box, my mother-in-law and husband showered me with those harsh words, their faces gleaming with satisfaction. I don't care what happens anymore. I'm not coming back. I loaded the last piece of luggage into the truck, imprinting the faces of the man I once loved and his mother in my mind. Before getting into the car, as I casually closed the car door, I caught a glimpse of the surprised expressions on my husband and MIL's faces. My name is Karen Patterson, 32 years old. I've built a career as a nurse. I've been living alone since college and started working at a general hospital right after graduation. I used to enjoy shopping trips and vacations with my fellow nurses, savoring my single life. In my late 20s, I started hearing about marriages from old friends. Even though I hadn't been very keen on marrying, I felt the societal pressure building. One day, a guy named Jason visited the internal medicine department I was working in to see a hospitalized friend. I was in charge of that patient, which led me to become friends with Jason. Our relationship continued even after our friend was discharged, and we got married on my 29th birthday. Jason was a regular office worker, so our schedules often clashed. We tried to match our off days, going on drives, and enjoying our newlywed phase. We thought we'd just leave the matter of having kids to fate, and relished our sweet time together. Life was good with work and our newlywed phase until we received a phone call. Karen, I'm sorry for calling when you're so busy. I couldn't reach Jason, so I called you. I slipped and sprained my ankle, and I can't move. Can you come over when you have time? I had lived alone for a long time, so I felt close to my mill, almost like she was my own mother. So after work, I immediately went over to her place. Are you Karen? I'll help with anything you need. She was lying in bed, looking pale, possibly due to the pain. Thank you, Karen. Even though you're my DIL, it feels like I have a daughter now. I'm sorry for troubling you when you're tired. I couldn't leave her in that state. I quickly cleaned the room, checked the fridge, and prepared some meals for her. I used what was in your fridge to prepare some meals, Mill. Please eat them once you feel better. I'll come by again. I headed home after that, and Jason thanked me. He said he'd visit her next time too. She seemed very pleased. From that day, she began calling me whenever she needed something. Thanks for always being there. You're a lifesaver. She'd thank me verbally, but sometimes made me do chores she could handle herself. Karen, can you run the washing machine and vacuum for me? She had almost recovered from the sprain and could walk normally. It felt like she was treating me like a maid. It didn't matter if I had just finished a night shift or was exhausted from consecutive workdays. I had to neglect my own housework to take care of her. Whenever I asked Jason to attend to his mother, he'd come back soon, saying, "She said she wants you, not me." Feeling drained, I turned off my phone one day and went to bed. Later, my doorbell rang. Hello, Karen. You weren't answering your phone, so I came to check on you. I was taken aback to find my Mill with a big smile on her face. Mill, what are you doing here? I thought it might be easier for you if I just stayed here. Jason said it's so Karen's, and you'll be here tomorrow. Let me in. I was dumbfounded. I hadn't heard a word about this from Jason. What a strange person. I've already told Jason about this. Kay told me it's so Karen to move in tomorrow since she'll be around. Hurry up and let me through. Suddenly being told she's moving into our apartment, I'm unprepared. I haven't heard a word from Jason about this. Oh, looks like this room's vacant. There's no way I can fit in your spacious apartment, and I know the living room is shared. It seems a bit small, but I'll manage in this room. She quickly moved her stuff into the spare 10 by 10 room we had kept mostly empty, planning it for a future child's room. I took that moment to call Jason and confirm. It's fine. After MIL's recent injury, I thought she'd need help. She lives alone after all. She'll probably go back to her own home once she's better. Just bear with it for a bit, he said. It's me who has to deal with this, I thought bitterly, and went to check on my Mill. I heard there's a closet here, so I don't need a dresser, but I did order a bed for delivery this evening. I can't impose that much on you all. She even went ahead and bought a bed without my consent. Such a brazen and inconsiderate woman. I'm so mad that Jason even gave her the apartment layout beforehand. My illusion of her being a kind Mill was completely shattered. From then on, MIL's whims became increasingly unbearable. This dish is too salty. It'll spike my blood pressure. Are you trying to get rid of me by sending me to the hospital? Yay, whatever. I mumbled under my breath, remaking her dish with less seasoning. When I mention I'm busy with work, she rudely suggests I quit my job, become a housewife, and start having kids. Most of her friends have at least one grandchild, and it seems she desperately wants one too. Mill doesn't lift a finger around the house. She only goes out to meet friends or shop. The rest of the time, she's glued to the TV watching Korean dramas. When I come home from work, she's quick to point out everything I did wrong that day. One day it's a dirty kitchen. The next it's trash in the entrance. Then a messy living room table. Another day there aren't enough snacks. I'm just trying to teach you to be a good wife, a good mother. A wife who can't do anything will be abandoned by her husband, she emphasized, claiming she's saying all this for my sake. I was exhausted. Jason was of no help avoiding his annoying mother. He started coming home even later from work and was often away on weekends, always with some excuse. We hardly even spoke anymore, but amidst all of this, I was so overwhelmed that I didn't notice Jason's absence. I've built a demanding career. Every day at the hospital wears on my nerves. When I come home, I'm faced with a nagging Mill. Before I knew it, I was feeling more and more mentally cornered. One day, Mill asked me to buy her some traditional desserts from the mall. Jason had said he was out for a business dinner that day. So rubbing my tired eyes from my night shift, I was walking downtown when I saw Jason sitting in a trendy cafe with a beautiful woman. I couldn't believe my eyes. There's no way Jason would be here. He said he had a business meeting and with a woman at an open-air cafe. It felt like I'd been hit over the head with a bat. A rush of emotions surged through me. Shock, humiliation, hopelessness, anger. My head was spinning. We haven't even been married that long. Although I felt numb, my legs carried me to the mall. As I looked for the desserts Mel had asked for, it hit me. His late returns, the weekends away, it was all for his affair. While I was worn out from daily life, he was out enjoying himself. The flames of anger ignited within me. I could see no point in this marriage. I decided to take my life back and made a crucial phone call. 2 weeks later, Mel was shouting, "That worthless wife, just move out already. Just leave and never come back." Jason chimed in. They hurled insults as I packed my things. I finished loading the last box and got into my car. They probably never thought I'd leave without making a scene. I don't care what happens anymore. I won't be coming back. I loaded my belongings into the truck, and as I took one last look at the face of the man I once loved and his mother's, I got in the car. I quickly closed the car door, leaving them looking stunned. Seeing their lost expressions gave me a sense of satisfaction. Now on to a fresh start. With a feeling of relief, I played some upbeat pop on the car stereo and hit the gas. Just half a day ago, I had decided to go through with this. In these 2 weeks, Mill became even more demanding and even started asking for money. "Karen, I want to go to the salon for a bit. Can you give me some spending money?" She hasn't given me a single cent for living expenses. We've never even discussed giving me a bit of money. In fact, I've been the one giving her allowance. "Mill, I can't. Please ask Jason." Jason, who was about to leave the house, jumped up in surprise. "Mom, I just gave you money the other day, didn't I? I'm broke too." "Karen, if you have money to give Mom, why not give some to me?" I had reached my breaking point. I had intended to discuss the issue once all three of us were together, but I just couldn't take it anymore. "Mel, Jason, enough is enough. Let's just end this. I want a divorce. I can't take it anymore." Both of them froze as if they'd been struck by lightning. They probably never expected me to bring up divorce. Their eyes widened as they stared at me. I felt like even if I had 3 eyes on my face, they wouldn't have been this shocked. "What are you talking about? Suddenly mentioning divorce is just a threat. Haven't we been getting along just fine? Sure, we haven't fought. Obviously, since we're never home at the same time." "That's right. We get along so well every day. It's rare for a daughter-in-law and Mill to be this close. My friends always say what a wonderful daughter-in-law you are. That might be true for the two of you. Mill, to you, I'm just a helper with an ATM function. And Jason, you see me as nothing more than a maid. You had no idea how I felt, did you?" Having always taken on every request without complaint, saying yes to everything, my long-held feelings erupted, and the two of them were left in shock, unable to respond. In my anger, once I started yelling, I couldn't stop. Words just kept pouring out. The two of them tried to interject, their mouths moving without producing sound. I then dropped another bombshell. "Also, Jason, you're having an affair, aren't you? With a younger and prettier woman." Jason turned pale and began to sweat. It seemed he was looking to his mother for help. "No way, that's impossible. I only have eyes for you, Karen. I'm so busy with work, and my mom's always around. I don't have time for that." He desperately tried to play it off. Unlike Jason, the Mill didn't seem as flustered. "You knew about it, didn't you, Mill? So it's with your blessing. Just so you know, I've done my research, and I have plenty of photographic evidence. There's no getting out of this." I threw photos of Jason looking intimate with the woman he was seen with, entering hotels, and being affectionate, onto the table. Jason exclaimed, "What the hell? When did this happen?" Did you hire a detective? Don't you trust your own husband? After all the nonsense he'd pulled, expecting trust was just insane. Calm down, Karen. It's also your fault. You're always busy with work, and you never consider Jason's feelings. Plus, you're 32, right? Younger women are better for having kids. The mill continued with her nonsense. The person who had made me look after Jason during our supposed quality time was this very mill. There was never a romantic moment for us. Not even for a split second. I get it. Neither of you cares about me. I can't possibly continue with the two of you. I was so angry that my whole body was shaking, and I was seeing red. A wife who can't have kids? I don't need you either. Just get out. Despite her words, the mill acted as though she had the upper hand. I felt so pathetic for having catered to such a person. That's right. She's younger, prettier, and much kinder. And she truly sees me. You're nothing compared to her. If we divorced, I could finally be with her. It became crystal clear. These two weren't worth my anger. I'll show them my thought. I had been thinking of proposing a divorce today, but I had been agonizing over whether it really was the right decision. Once you mention it, there's no going back. As I collected more evidence of Jason's affair and heard the MIL's harsh words, my decision to divorce solidified. However, the anxiety of living without Jason loomed over me. But listening to the constant bickering between the two, my resolve changed to an absolute need to get a divorce. Fine, I'll leave. Just give me a few hours. Jason, the divorce papers are ready. Just need your signature and seal. I immediately called the moving company I had booked earlier, asking them to come as soon as possible. The movers arrived in no time and began to load my belongings, which I had already packed, as well as the appliances and other items I had purchased on my own. They probably hadn't even noticed that I had packed up until yesterday. Even during this process, the two of them continued with comments like, "Get out, you damn woman." All ties. Keeping my urge to retaliate in check, I silently helped the movers. I left everything that tied me to this house. Cutting. I wanted to get out of that house as soon as possible. With each box loaded, I felt a surge of relief and hope. And so, my brief marriage came to an end. A week later, what the hell is going on? They're telling me to leave the apartment today. I heard an angry voice on my smartphone. Oh, the apartment must have been sold. The apartment is in the popular area. What do you mean, what's going on? That apartment was in my name. I paid the down payment, took care of the mortgage. I was the head of the household. And yes, I paid the property taxes. Have you forgotten? Having worked hard as a nurse and saved a decent amount, I had bought the apartment since I had no intention to marry back then. Jason loved the place too. So instead of selling and finding a new one, we continued to live there. That's why the apartment was in my name. And Jason had nothing to do with it. Since I didn't plan on living there anymore, I decided to sell the apartment. I had no idea I had to move out. I was thinking of living there with my mom and my girlfriend. Where am I supposed to go now? That's not my problem. All I could do was sigh. It has nothing to do with me. Remember when you said you wouldn't care whatever happens after leaving? Find a place for yourselves before the next owner moves in. If you have anything to say, please contact my lawyer. I could hear him on the other end, selfishly saying things like, "Let's get back together. I can't forget about Karen," even though he has a girlfriend. But I hung up the phone quickly. After a divorce and focusing on moving out, there were some details left to handle. So I decided to consult my situation with a lawyer. My lawyer is actually my older brother. I called him for advice immediately after catching Jason cheating. He's a top-notch lawyer, working at a prestigious law firm, and I felt assured leaving things in his hands. After assessing my financial situation and savings, he also diligently investigated Jason's infidelity, and on top of that, thought about how to inflict the most damage on the other side. Out of anger that his little sister was being treated so poorly, he seemed to be especially meticulous this time. In this case, since Jason was 100% at fault, we could demand a hefty compensation, and we were confident in getting the other party to agree to our terms. He showed me a confident smile. I felt like I was in good hands, letting my brother take care of everything. As he had said, this was an easy case, and the lawyer representing Jason couldn't do anything but agree to our terms. Both of us had been contributing to living expenses, and since most of the remaining money was from individual savings, there was hardly any shared property to split. And Jason, who had been spending most of his salary on himself and showering his girlfriend with gifts, ended up having to pay me compensation. After that, he was forced out of the house and had no choice but to move into a cramped apartment. Plus, he'll be joined by his demanding girlfriend and his nagging mill. His girlfriend isn't the obedient, agreeable type like I was. She seems more interested in her appearance than in doing household chores. So Jason's mill might be bossed around. Even if his mill complains, she'll probably just be shut down in return. I couldn't help but chuckle at the thought. I imagined my show-off mill dressed modestly, cleaning the floor, and it lifted my spirits thinking how fitting it was. Maybe I have a mean streak too. But then again, it's all that mother and son's fault, so it can't be helped. I don't have an ounce of sympathy for them. On the contrary, with the alimony and my savings, I'm living in an apartment even bigger than before. The new place was found by my brother, Richard. First, he had it all set up so I could move in immediately. And as soon as I did, I took a long bath, feeling like I was finally free from it all. On my days off, I sweat it out in the gym in the apartment or want to go shopping at a leisurely pace. I also want to reconnect with my friends. Looking back, because of my mill and Jason, I didn't go out much. Nothing feels as fulfilling as wearing fashionable clothes and diving into work without all that stress. I was completely over it. On the other hand, things weren't going so well for Jason. The fact that we divorced because of Jason's affair became the talk of his company. Moreover, his partner was the executive director's daughter. I didn't know about it, but Richard got that information easily. Of course, I demanded alimony from her too. When it came out they were dating before he and I split, the executive director was furious, and Jason got an earful. He wasn't fired, but he was transferred to a smaller branch in the suburbs. And since she couldn't pay the alimony, her father paid it for her. They both seemed to be repaying him together. Although she was planning to retire after getting married, she can't now because of Jason's transfer and the need to repay the alimony. She's still working while getting pitied glances from her colleagues. The only wish of Mill that came true was that she got pregnant quickly. However, she can't quit her job, so she's working, carrying her big belly until her maternity leave. The Mill has to support her daughter-in-law, who continues working despite being pregnant, so she's given up on socializing and is shouldering all the housework. The roles have completely reversed from my time. It seems Jason and Mill are being bossed around by her whims. Whenever she feels unwell, both give her massages and seem to be running around to make sure she's comfortable. A nosy friend of mine fills me in, but it's none of my business. It's the life they chose. Richard said I could demand alimony from the Mill, but I declined. Sure, it'd feel good to have her pay, but I didn't feel right taking money from an elderly person. When I had adjusted to my new life, I ran into the three of them at a department store. Besides her round pregnant belly, she looked unchanged and pretty. Behind her, Jason was carrying a bunch of bags, and the haggard-looking Mill followed. I looked better than when we broke up, dressed in the latest fashion, with perfect makeup. Seeing the vibrant me, both Jason and Mill were taken aback. I gave a slight nod as I passed them, and when he whispered regretfully, "Karen was the best," I elbowed him as if to say, "Don't mock me." I felt truly refreshed, like I had defeated a bitter past. I felt like I had finally closed that chapter. I'm living fulfilling days, having regained control over my life. Most of my emotional wounds have healed. I've always loved kids, and I'm starting to think about remarrying and having children someday. Richard, who helped me during the tough times, occasionally sets me up, trying to create opportunities for me to meet someone. I've heard he's fond of me, and today's our first date. Coming from my brother, he must be a kind and considerate man. I'm done with the whole love at first sight thing, so I want to take things slow and enjoy at my own pace. I'll never let go of my life again.